this is Jo from Maths Tutor Me. Today we're doing percentages and ratios, and we're going to be learning specifically today about converting between percentages, fractions, and decimals. Now, if you have a percentage, you can convert it to either a fraction or a decimal by dividing by 100. Now, if you have a fraction or a decimal and you want to change it to a percentage, all you have to do is multiply by 100. Okay, now a fraction and a decimal are just two different ways of writing the same thing. So I don't actually have to multiply or divide anything to convert between the two of them. So for example, if I have the decimal 0.2, okay, and I just press equals, my calculator will change that into a fraction for me. I don't need to multiply or do anything strange to that. Okay, so using this rule here in our box, we're going to do these examples. Question number 1, we want to convert 6% to a fraction. So because we have a percentage and we want to come over to our fraction over here, we need to divide that by 100. Okay, now to keep it as a fraction, we actually put that over 100. 6 over 100. Divide and fraction like that means the same thing. Now we can simplify that fraction by dividing the top and bottom by 2, which would give 3 over 50. Now that same percentage can also be written as a decimal. Okay, again, it's just 6 divided by 100, but instead of writing that as a fraction, dividing by 100 also means that you can move the decimal place backwards 2 places. So if it's a whole number 6, the decimal point would be at the end here. To jump back 2 places, I would need to do 1 jump over the 6, and then I would need to add a 0 in front of that. So I would get 0.06. So remember, 6 was the number I had, the decimal point was here. 1, 2 puts the decimal place there as a decimal. So 6% is the same as 3 over 50 as a fraction and 0.06 as a decimal. Question 2, convert 11 out of 25 to a percentage. So this time we have a fraction and I want to go to a percentage. So fraction to a percentage means we multiply by 100. So all I have to write down is 11 over 25 multiplied by 100. Now you could do this with the calculator, or it is also good practice to be able to do these things without a calculator as well. So if I wanted to do this without a calculator, what I would do is I would put this 100 over 1 like that, because that doesn't change the value, it's just making that a fraction as well. And then using my fraction skills, I could simplify the 25 over here with the 100. Both of those can be divided by 25. 25 divided by 25 goes exactly once, and 100 divided by 25 goes 4 times. Then, once you've simplified your fractions, you multiply what's left. Multiplying across the top, 11 times 4 is 44. And on the bottom, all we have is 1 times 1. 1 times 1 is 1. So that would be over 1. But we don't need to write over 1 if it's just a 1. Okay, so it's just 44%. We have changed that into a percentage. Okay, now if you didn't want to do this like without a calculator, we can do it with the calculator. So if we just typed in 11 over 25, and then we go times 100 equals, does it all for us, and we get the 44%. Okay, question 3. Convert 0.57 to a percentage. So this is a decimal. To convert a decimal to a percentage, you want to multiply by 100. Now multiplying by 100 means we want to move the decimal point 2 places, making it bigger. So from here, we go 1, 2 jumps over, would make that 57%. Done. You could type that in the calculator if you want to, but that's an easy one to do without a calculator. Question 4, complete the table. So for each row here, we are given one value and we have to find the other two. So for the first one, I'm given the fraction. 1/4 is my fraction. I want to convert that to a decimal and I want to convert that to a percentage. So 1/4 is a fairly common fraction. It is the decimal 0.25. Okay. You could use your calculator to check that if you were unsure. So you could type in 1/4 like that equals. We'll give you the fraction. But on most calculators, you'll have a button that will convert that to a decimal, which there it is, 0.25. Now to change that into a percentage, okay, we want to multiply by 100. So all I have to do is jump this over 2 spots, making that 25%. Okay, let's look at the next one. We have a decimal this time, 0.3. First of all, let's change that into a fraction. If there is just one number after decimal place here, we could put that one number, 3/10. Okay, that would be the fraction 3/10. I can't simplify that any further, so that's it. To make it a percentage, I want to multiply my decimal by 100. So I do one jump over the 3, and I need to add another 0 there for the second jump, making that 30%. On the next line, next row here, I have the percentage this time, 12%. I would need to divide that by 100 to go back to the decimal, which would be 2 places backwards, would be 0.12. As a fraction, we would put our 12/100. Okay, that's a fraction. We could also simplify that fraction by dividing the top and the bottom by 4, which would give us a 3/25. Next one, we have 7/20. So these last ones are a little bit harder to do without a calculator. But 7/20, to convert that to a decimal or a percentage, if you wanted to do it without a calculator, first of all, I would write this as a fraction over 100. Okay, because percentages are out of 100, aren't they? So if I multiplied 20 by 5, that would give me 100. So I need to multiply 7 by 5 to work out that the top needs to be 35. So as a decimal, that would be 0.35. And as a percentage, that would be 35%. Okay, this last one, I'm just going to use the calculator to do this one. So I have 15 1/3%. So typing that in, I have 15 1/3. Okay, if I want to change that to a decimal or a fraction, I need to divide it by 100. So divide 100, my calculator gives me the fraction straight away, which is 23/150. And then all I have to do is press my button here to change that into a decimal. So it'd be 0.15, and the 3 is repeating, so I'll put a 3 with a dot above it for the repeater. Okay, that's the end of my examples. Time for you to practice. Okay, so here's a few questions, just like the ones I've shown you. Pause the video, give these questions a go, and then restart to see the answers. So for question 1, we want to write 0.02 as a percentage. That's a decimal. So we need to multiply that by 100, which is 2 jumps, to get 2%. Question 2, convert 16% into a simplified fraction. So from a percentage, to change it into a fraction, we need to put it over 100. Okay, then we need to simplify it. So we can divide the top and the bottom by 4, giving 4/25 for the best answer. Question 3, convert 4/5 to a percentage, a fraction to a percentage. You want to multiply by 100. Okay, you could type that into your calculator, Or without the calculator, you'd put that over 1. You could cancel a 5, or divide a 5 from here and here, giving you 20. Multiply the top, 4 times 20. 4 times 2 is 8, so that will make 80. 1 times 1 on the bottom, we don't need to write that. So 80%. Question 4, 65 and 3/4% to a decimal. So that is actually 65. 3/4 is the decimal 75, like that. So 65.75%. I'm just writing that fraction as a decimal there. But to make that a decimal, no longer a percentage, I need to divide that by 100, which means 2 jumps backwards would make that 0.6575 as a decimal. Finally, we have our table to complete our blanks here. 7/10 as a fraction means 0.7 as a decimal. And as a percentage, 2 jumps over, so 1, 2, add a 0 at the end there, would make 70%. 0.86 as a decimal would mean, times that by 100 to get the percentage, 1, 2, will give you 86%. To change it into a fraction, all you have to do is put the 86 over 100, but then we can also simplify that.